Welcome to today's mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor. आप सबनु प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, दाब and shalom. We are going to start actually today with 50 years of emergency, which was declared actually in June 26, 1975. And what were the factors and what is happening now, and how this undeclared emergency is different from the declared emergency. I was at that time when it happened, I had just finished my college, and a very close friend of mine, he was an editor. He used to come out with a magazine, a monthly magazine, and there were portions, because anything to be printed has to be okayed by the DC's office, which is basically Deputy Commissioner. Those are the holy soli karta tarta of that district. So this friend of mine, he submitted his documents, the magazines, all the articles and everything, and one of the articles was about emergency and criticizing it. And DC ordered that he cannot print that article. He knew what he is doing. So what he did was he left that part of the where the article was supposed to go in the magazine blank, and he actually printed not printed because of the orders from the DC. And of course, obvious things happened, after the magazine came out, it went out in circulation, and he got arrested. He spent about a month or so behind the bars at that time. So emergency, yeah, it was not, the ground situation was not that much where the country was in danger, because we already had come out of the 1971 war with Pakistan. When Bangladesh was created, 1972 elections happened, and Indira Gandhi won the election, but that election was challenged. And in Allahabad High Court actually voided that election and declared her as not, that there were irregularities in the election and election should be held again, and she is not an elected MP from her constituency. And I think it was Amethi at that time, and and the ministers within her cabinet, they actually advised her to not to just resign for the time being, fight the case, go to the Supreme Court, win the case and come back. But like they say, once you have the power, it's not easy to lose the power. So probably she was not sure about it, because and the reasons could be that when she first became the prime minister, Kamraj from Tamil Nadu was one of the architect of her first prime ministerialship, where he was like, well, she is just a little girl and we can manipulate her. She ended up proving otherwise. And so probably it was on her mind that once I leave, I will probably never be able to be the president of the Indian National Congress. Because the Congress divided in 65, so there was a original Indian National Congress, and then there was Indian National Congress. I for Indira Gandhi. So she decided, instead of resigning, she declared emergency on flimsy ground, and lot of things which happened, and even the signatures of the president were like, he even did not question it. And so emergency went into effect at that time. And when emergency went into effect, L.K. Advani, who came this close to become the Prime Minister of India, till the current Prime Minister Modi, actually steamrolled everything. Uh, you know, and I'm reading what he wrote. He made an entry in the diary. June 26, 1975 may well prove to be the last day in the history of Indian democracy as we have understood it. Hope this fear will be proved unfounded. Which of course, emergency was lifted, 1977 elections happened, and I think it was for about 18 months or so the emergency was there, and a lot of people got arrested at that time, including JP, who put the Janata Party together, from where Jan Sangh took the name Bharatiya Janata Party and Bharatiya Janata Party, that's a political thing which anybody can read about it and see about it. So, in today's situation, and I'm reading again from L.K. Advani, a BJP stalwart, a leader who was mastermind behind the Babri Masjid, which actually gave BJP from 2 seats to multiple seats, and BJP first 13 days with Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and then full term of BJP government, the NDA combined under Atal Bihari Vajpayee. This is what he said at that time. He said that nobody has openly declared an emergency now, yet no one needs to get pre-publication approval because no one nowadays dares speak truth to the power. Same L.K. Advani, and here is same L.K. Advani. And he said the media was asked to bend but instead crawled. Basically, during emergency in 1975, media was told to be basically, listen to the power, listen to the government, and do not publish anything anti-government or anything. And he said, but instead it crawled. So they fell in line. Instead of listening, bending, they literally were on their knees. And that is exactly happening here in the United States also these days. We will talk about that also. So, and then he goes on, today's media cannot crawl because it is ensconced in the regime's lap. So basically, the baby which is in the lap, which is not there even to crawl, that's what he is talking about. So civil liberties do not have to be suspended because they exist only in the name. So this is an article which was written by Aditya Sinha, in New Delhi. And, I always talk about the freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom of thoughts. And it brought back to my mind yesterday. Anybody, by the way, if somebody wants to read the article, here is the title of the article, and it was printed in the Frontline magazine in India. And you can go online and dig it out if you need to. And it was printed on July 3rd of this year. So this is again, like I repeat about the freedom of speech, freedom of expression. In Texas, a student, a young kid, he actually burned an American flag on the steps of the Texas Supreme Court. The police arrested him, and after arresting him, a case was filed. And guess what? During that case, the hearings took place and everything, whatever needed to be done based on, and I'm definite you can dig it out. These days, so much is available on the smartphones, you don't need to go anywhere. He was let go. Why? Because The judge said that allowed, and he has all the tools which he thinks are, to him, which can express his feelings. So for him, burning American flag is an expression of freedom of speech, and under the act of freedom of speech, he cannot be penalized, and he let him go. Just think about it. In India, a couple of years ago, I think 2 years or maybe 3 years ago, there was August 15. So I'm going to talk about that, and stay tuned, because it's very important that we should understand what is happening worldwide, which actually reminded me, I got a question from a gentleman about Social Security. I have to get back to him on that. I told him it was about, under the new law, what kind of changes are going to take effect for the people who are already on Social Security with disability Social Security. Those laws are not going to get implemented till 2027, which means they do not want to lose their majority in 2026. So welcome to the politics. Anyway, so we were talking about, that Har Ghar Pe Tiranga, the people who could not afford 2 meals of the day in their houses, they were forced to buy an Indian flag, which was manufactured by a person who was already rich, and he became super rich by doing that and distributing it. And if no flag was found and at somebody's house who really could not afford it, or totally forgot about it, or had his working during the day and coming home cooking food and everything, he or she was mistreated, and in some cases, in some instances, even beaten up, that you don't love India. I was listening to this gentleman, Parhar, who is a historian, and he made a comment. He said, you are forced to say, oh, I love my country, or you are forced to say, oh, you should say that I love my country. He said, if your country provides you what you need, which is education, safety, freedom of speech, and food and shelter, of course you will love your country. But if it is not, then give me a reason why you should be loving your country. And that actually reminds me, in 1990s, late in 1990s, I think it was 97. Yeah, 50 years of Indian independence was celebrated, and India Today came out with a special magazine on that day. And the questions were asked to young people, young kids also. And I will never forget that instance reading it. One of the kid was at that time, one of the kid who was from a rich family going to a parochial school, which is one of those schools where you pay high tuitions and everything, and asked the question, what do you think about the future of India? And she was very happy about it. She was like, I look forward to finishing my studies, and blah blah blah, and I look that India's future will be really bright. One side, right? Now let's come to the other side. The journalist went to another kid who actually was picking up the rags from the garbage, and asked him what you think about freedom. And he was about, what freedom? He said, the only thing which I know is I have to pick up the rags, put them together, sell it, whatever money I get, buy some atta and dal, go home, cook, eat, go to bed, get up in the morning, and go into the same circle. So it depends who you ask. Same way in freedom of expression, freedom of speech, it depends who you are looking at, who you are listening to. Because if you are within the bubble of social media, that bubble and the logic they use, they will never let you go out. So you have to break that bubble, go out, and then try to find out what's going on. And I will give you a perfect example of what is happening. How many among us right now remember or talk about Ukraine, what is happening now in Ukraine? Not that many. Gaza, yeah, it is in the news, but when Iran thing happened, Gaza was not even on the mind of the people. It was about Iran. Now again, because of the starvation in Gaza, there is a discussion going on. But what is missing out of those discussions is Ukraine war, the other war, in South Africa, what is happening, Sudan, the inflation, yeah, that's something, I totally forgot about to talk about that. Inflation, nobody's talking about it. Remember last year, whole year, every news item when they opened up, they talked about inflation. Is it down? No. I literally bought a polo for my son, and my other son liked it. He said, can I have get me one too? I said, sure. I ordered same polo, same company. A week and a half later, 2 weeks probably, and guess how much I paid extra? I paid $60 extra for same polo. Why? Because of that tariff. So 30%, $200, 30%, $60, $260. So what I'm trying to talk about here, what I'm trying to say here is that the media controls everything. If you are looking for the thing, you need to go out. Those who are sitting at home are not shopping, they need to go out and try to shop. Try to shop themselves. The people who are super rich, to them it may not matter because they never go out to shop. They don't go to pick up anything. So we need to get out of that bubble to really learn again what the free speech is, what the freedom is, and how it affects, and how it will affect the generations to come. People actually stop thinking out of the box. All these inventions, they happened because the people who invented those things, whether those were iPhones, those were planes, those were pens, pencils, everything. All these people, they literally thought out of the box. They talked about it openly, and they shared their ideas, and out of those ideas, the byproduct was the things which we use every day. You are watching, I'm sitting here in New York City, you are watching somewhere in the world, wherever you are. This is all invention because of that thinking of out of the box. So if you close that box, just imagine what could happen, that lot of things which are already in the pipeline, they are close to change the world, including some of the medications. They are being taken off the shelf in the name of budget cuts, saving the money, this and that. So these are the effects of all that. You drop one thing and every other will follow down the road till everything falls down, and to make it stand again, it takes years, decades. It's not easy. So we are going to, and with that, I think we need to now move on to some other things also, including tariff I want to talk about, because because what is happening is that tariffs, the agreements are being reached, Congress is useless. Why? Because Democrats are trying, but I'm not satisfied with what they are trying to do. And Republicans, they don't have the backbone at all. And those who had at the big beautiful bill, some of the senators, they actually voted for the bill. Behind the doors they complained, and those who voted against the bill, they already declared that they will not seek the re-election. Why? Because what is happening is everything is just not right. It may appear, but America will pay the price. We will pay the price. It is just coming down. You know, it takes time for the bill to come home. And I think the time is coming up, because whatever we had in the warehouses and everything, you talk to the trucking companies, they are not getting that much business. Why? Because manufacturers, the things which were being manufactured oversized, that whole global supply chain is right now at a pause or at a bare minimum. Yeah, it is not like what happened during the COVID, but yes, it is happening now. And that is something which we need to look at, including inflation is still there with us. We may believe or we may not believe. There are so many things to talk about. I'm going to talk about Gaza also. But before that, I came across an article about ICE, the rights, written by Arales Hernandez. It was printed, I think, in Washington Post or New York Times. Yeah, and this actually is a product of after 9/11, and that's when Homeland Security was created, and ICE is part of that Homeland Security. And over here, she's talking about how masked officers whisking away the people in unmarked cars and everything. And now with this big and beautiful bill, ICE got another $170 billion with a B. So just get ready. I think last show I talked about that, how, in Midwest, one of the meat packing factory just closed down almost. They came down to, they were expanding, they were hiring, they did everything as per the law, but ICE came in, and after the ICE came in, they picked up the people, and now the factory is almost shut. The owners are like, we are starting from zero. So that actually explains everything. Now the question is what they can do and what they cannot do. I'm going to try to make it real short. Maybe in the next one I will explain more. Can federal officers make immigration arrests without a warrant? Yes, they can, but under certain circumstances. They have to be sure about it. That's why when this whole ICE raid started, I insisted on this show, please ask for the warrants. And you have the right to record. You can say that I'm a recording officer, and you can start recording. And you can actually, do a FaceTime also with somebody who you trust. Even though there is a probability they may go after that person, but you have to make sure that you are using your rights, which are your rights, not government's right. These are the rights which were passed by the Congress, going through lot of turbulence and lot of fights, and it was not easy to get these rights, and these rights are being trampled upon, and they are being chipped away one at a time. And let me say it again, like I said about the freedom of speech, let me say about this thing also. These laws, if they are taken away, there will be another bloodshed before these laws get back on the book. We do not want that. Don't let the history repeat itself. Okay. Can ICE officers make arrest at a private business or home? No. They need a judicial warrant. But then again, there are exceptions. You know, this is where it goes into the small print. Okay? If a business owner manager allows ICE inside without a warrant, the rules around search and arrest get murkier. Okay? Immigration officers would then be free to walk around and engage with the people. So it is on the person who actually is in charge, the manager or the owner. Okay? Do ICE officers have to identify themselves, which we see is not. And over here, they say there is no legal requirement for immigration officers to provide their personal names. See how the laws, when they are written, till they get implemented by somebody like which we have now, that we really don't see the actual repercussions. And once we see the repercussion, then they go back to look at it and try to make the amends to it, which is already being discussed in the Congress. Would it get anywhere? I doubt it. Not with the Republican Congress. It's not going to go anywhere. We have to continue pressing our congressman, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, that we need this right. If the police officers are required to show you their ID, we have to know who the person we are dealing with. How do we know that we are not being kidnapped? How do I know if I am stopped? It's very important. Can federal officers making immigration arrests wear masks over their faces? It's unclear. You know, it's funny, in Nassau County, executive of Nassau County, Blakeman, literally barred face covering, even for the people who are, some people because of their faith, and majority of the people because of their sickness. My elder son just came out of the COVID this week. So, you know, the first thing is to put on the mask, and he cannot. But he said, oh, ICE agents are allowed to do it, which means what? The politicians are actually using the laws to bend you, not to bend you, but making you crawl, or maybe you sit in their lap, you know. Can I detain a person who is applying for legal status or given a temporary one? People, this is where a lot of things people need to understand. People with an ongoing asylum claim or a temporary status like humanitarian parole have been put on deportation proceedings under previous administration, but were not the focus. Under Trump, some of these individuals have become target, which means that some of the people who actually their cases were denied, I will suggest you that you should speak to your attorney on that how it will affect you if you have what they call PD. I think it is for permanent deferment, something like that. So, and those who have been in the United States for less than 2 years and they are being put on expedited proceedings for removal. You know, this is where that 2-year thing comes into play. Does ICE have right to share where someone is being held? ICE maintains an online detainee locator, but it can take several days for someone's information to appear on the site. See, your family member you are worried about. ICE picked him up or somebody else picked him up or he got kidnapped, nobody knows. But this is something which happened. And you don't know, you're trying to find your loved one. You will not know about him or her for a couple of days till ICE decides to put it on their site so that you can go and check. Can ICE detain children? Again, it says it depends on the circumstances. Children who are not citizens can be placed in detention with their parents. Then again, Trump used separating the children from the families in previous administration. He is going to do the same thing again. Can ICE officers use force in making an arrest? Immigration officers are trained to avoid using force when making an arrest, but they can use force if someone's safety is at risk. Now the question is whose safety and who decides when not to use the force? If I am trying to resist being kidnapped because I don't know who the person is and I see just ICE, I have a car parked in across my office. It has a Florida plate. The police officer told me it's a fake plate. I didn't know. I thought it is fake, but I didn't know. He immediately saw and said it's a fake plate. How do I know that ICE thing is not fake? You can get anything on Amazon and you can order and get it done. So these are some of the things which I came across and I wanted to share with you, because we have a lot of people who actually fall in this category one way or the other. And if you have a felony and you are on you have a PD or something like that, again go to your attorney, make sure that your attorney knows what he or she is talking about, whether he or she knows exactly the law, so that tomorrow if you get picked up, because they are actually hiring more and more people now, and they will be more on the streets with the more cars and more armaments. Some of the gears they are using, those are for the army, not for the civilian law enforcement. Everybody heard that a shooting took place in Manhattan, Blackstone building, and 4 people died, including 1 police officer. And that police officer happens to be a gentleman from Bangladesh. And it really hurts when a police officer dies. When people they talk about defund the blue, defund the police, including Councilwoman Shahana Hanif. She is from Brooklyn. She is one of those who was anti-police, defund the police, but she has decided to walk into the janaza for the slain officer. For me, I just can't understand that these police officers who actually literally put their life on line to save your life, you talk about defunding them, and then you decide to go attend the cremation of the person. How dare? To me, no, I'm one of those, I just can't digest that. I'm not saying that the cops are 100% right, but it doesn't mean that they should be defunded. The crimes, look at New York City. I came to city in 80s, and I have seen more than 2,000 murders a year in New York City. Okay. Bill Clinton came in he won the election in 1992. In 1993, he put in money to hire close to 100,000 extra cops throughout the United States. And after that, New York City got, I think, about 7,000 to 10,000 cops, extra cops. The crime went zoom down. Even though people are giving credit to, Mayor Giuliani, but Mayor Giuliani had no role to play into it, because he got the money, he got the cops. Once you have the cops, the crime will go down. People don't put the pieces together. History judges all these things. So Now, this cop, he actually died confronting him. What is baffling to me was that this guy who actually used a rifle, it was visible when he was walking. Nobody stopped him. No cop stopped him. Even when he entered the building, what was the security doing? We have all these security arrangements in all these big buildings. What was going on? It baffles me. And in the end, we lost 4 lives, 1 officer, 2 other employees from one of the company, and perpetrator also, who happens to be one of the football player who had one of those brain diseases which the football players develop because of bumping their heads, and he was upset about that. And yeah, so like I promised, I was going to talk about Gaza before we close this today's show. The starvation, even though it is being said that 60,000 Gazans have died, probably it's much more than that. And out of this whole thing, 2 things are happening now. Actually, 3 things are happening. One actually is Trump actually changed his mind, which he does all the time. That is not something strange. But strange thing is that he changed his mind to take a different route from Bibi Netanyahu, from Israel, where claiming that yes, there is a starvation happening in Gaza and food should be allowed to go in. And one of the baby who died in Gaza actually weighed less when that baby died than what was the weight of the baby when the baby was born. Just imagine that. Which means that the mom did not have enough food to feed the baby, and there was nothing available out there which she can use to feed the baby, because she could not breastfeed the baby. There was not enough milk. There was nothing available. The milk was not available outside, and the baby died. And now that Trump made a statement, and Bibi Netanyahu immediately said that he will do a 10-hour cease of the fight, and immediately Jordan and Egypt dropped these parcels of the food. But 2 things are happening. One is France declared, the president of France, Macron, declared that he is going to declare Palestinian state down the road before the end of this year. And British Prime Minister Starmer also made a statement that in September he will do it unless a ceasefire deal is reached. That 2-state solution is on the table for so long. There were people in Israel, there were people in Israeli cabinet who actually were for 2-state solution, and Yasser Arafat, and I think it was Rabin at that time from Israel. They reached almost to a deal between Israel and Palestine. There were some footprints which Yasser Arafat did not agree with, and that's where he walked out, which happened late 1990s. I don't remember exactly what year, but like about 20 plus years, but not 30 years yet. So, and now it is back on the table again. Nobody was talking about the 2-state solution. As far as Bibi is concerned, he will definitely not talk about it, because he is more, if I may say, power hungry, or wants to stay in power. There are reasons for that, because as long as he is prime minister, he cannot be prosecuted. He has, he is due to be prosecuted because of whatever crimes he has committed within Israel, corruption. But as long as he is prime minister, he cannot be prosecuted and put behind the bars. So he has all the interest to continue the war. And in the meantime, when last time the deal was about to reach, there were some people, some Jewish people who had their settlements in Gaza. They were evacuated. Now they are planning to not only go back those extreme right wing who are supporting Bibi Netanyahu at this time. They see that, okay, we can take the blood at this point, and they are already talking about rebuilding those Jewish settlements and even expanding on what they had before. And while this is happening in Gaza, in West Bank, already more and more settlements are happening, and Palestinians are being killed by Jewish settlers, and nobody is talking about that. No actions are being taken about it. And they are being evicted. They are being evicted by the police. They are being evicted by the army, and their land is being turned over to new settlements. So ultimately, the solution has to be, number one, release all the hostages, whether they are alive or dead, number one. Number two, at the same time, declare two-state solutions so that there are permanently marked borders. Even though after the borders are marked, still the countries can walk in, like Russia guaranteed Ukraine's border, but Russia then again walked into now eastern part of Ukraine. So there is nothing 100% guaranteed, but those are to be taken care of. And I think in the next show, I intend to talk about the reasons how Trump got elected this time, and also while he got elected, how he is going to use this term. He is one of those figures which cannot be trusted, no doubt about it, but at the same time, American power which he controls right now is the power which can actually set the course of history. It is already on a different trajectory right now because of the tariffs and everything, which the results will come up in next 15 or 20 years. We will see that. If we are around, if I'm still around, we'll talk about it at that time in about next 10 or 15 years. But till we meet again, till next time, good night.